Um, Hello everyone. This is Sam Merzog, and again, just to introduce myself, I have a CCNP enterprise, and I'm currently working towards a CCIE. Um, but anyways, we'll start. I'm gonna try to wipe this lab and start from the start. Okay, we'll start with configuring the vSmart. Okay. So Cisco's modeling lab has this handy tool, right? You can stop your lab from a dashboard and you can wipe the lab, right? Saves you some time, right? So we'll stop the lab. Okay. It takes some time due to the amount of processes that are currently working. It's got probably a sequence in which it starts stopping each of the appliances within the lab. And if you have Cisco Online Lab, you would click this little button right here, and this would wipe your lab. Okay, are you sure you want to wipe the lab label? Okay, we'll call it okay. We'll say okay. Okay. Um, SDWAN. Okay. All right. So due to the amount of resources that these appliances require, we would like to start with the vManage first. Okay, we'll start the vManage and then we'll start the certificate authority. Okay, in that order. Okay, and once we got them up, we'll start the vBond and the vSmart. Okay, I can start my external bridge because that would allow my connection to my network, my LAN. This would help me generate an IP, at least a management IP for the vManage. Okay, some of these IP might change. The 192.168.4.0/22 is my LAN, and the previous IP I had for the vManage was the 192.168.6.134. Okay, /32. All right, we'll take it from there. Now, last week I left off on the last video, at least I left off talking about the three different planes, right? We had um, the control plane, the management plane, the data plane, right? In Cisco SD-WAN, VPN 0 is used for both control plane and data plane, right? Data plane will be the transport, that will be your IPsec tunnel for each of the VPN. That's how communication between different sites are handled, right? Different V edges are handled, right? Or C edges, that order, right? So you build a bunch of IPsec tunnel, and each IPsec tunnel will stay within its own tenant, so that there's no route leaking between two VRF, right? The DTLS protocol being used, it is the OMP, Overlay Management Protocol. This is the control plane communication between all the controllers and the V edges. The vSmart will use DTLS to exchange some control plane information. This would include routing and policies, right? It would be the same way how the vManage would receive or send information to the vSmart using, for example, if the vManage has policies that have been templated, right? This template can be pushed over to vSmart, and the vSmart can push that over to the V edges. Okay. All right. Let's get into the console. And again, VPN 512 would be your management, out of band management, right? So you have, let me see if I can quickly put this in here. And this is my understanding of this technology. So you have your VPN 0, right? That would be doing a few things. It would be doing your control plane, right? Your control plane. That's may use both DTLS or IPsec, right? But now DTLS is lighter, it's faster, it's more economical. I mean, it's not doesn't have enough overhead, right? UDP 443, right? And then you would be using IPsec for data plane, right? Data plane, right? And I would say something like between V edges, C edges, okay? And then you have VPN 512, right? 512 is your out of band management. So I would say it would be, I mean, out of band management, right? And then you may have other services such as let's say other service VPN. Service VPN could be anything between 1 and maybe 511, right? This would have your different tenants. What about that? Different tenants, right? I'll do that. I'll use this term, okay? Alright, so I'm gonna make this blue. Maybe increase the size. Okay, let me see if I can, oops, see if I can select that particularly by itself. Let me see. I don't know whether I can make this box any smaller than it is, so I'm gonna move this down a little bit and maybe bring this in here, right? Okay, alright. So yeah, let's go in the console of vManage. Let's see what we have. It's taking, okay, so I'm here. So generally when the vManage just starts, right, especially I see this refresh icon, right, green as you mean is starting up. You have to give some time to the vManage to start all its processes, or it'll tell you, hey, you know, when you try to log in again using the default username and password, it's basically admin and admin with the uppercase A123, okay? It'll tell you that the services have not started yet. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're failing the authentication. It just means that you still have to wait for all services to start before, and it'll tell you services ready, and then you can get in there and start, you know, configuring your vManage. But anyways, this lab will be pretty straightforward. We'll have, again, like I said, two remote sites. Well, one of the remote site is the headquarters. I have not yet configured the MPLS, the second circuit. We'll do this eventually, but we'll start with the internet, right? We'll do static routes on top here, and then for the MPLS we'll do BGP. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, let's start the vBond, and then I'll start the vManage. We'll need a DNS server, okay, and a core switch to aggregate, at least for to have them all share one broadcast domain, right? And then once that's up, we'll start working the routing, the internal routing, right? So the VPN 0 configuration would be within the 192.168.1.0/24, okay? Right. We'll set that up today in this lab, and then at least so that the vManage can and all the controllers can be able to reach the vBond, the orchestrator, the validator. Okay, so let me see if this one started yet. That would be my certificate authority. We can start configuring the certificate authority first. Okay, so let's do that. I'm going to also, I will need the DNS. Let's do the DNS also, because we'll need a DNS server. Let's go back to the CA. All right, let me see if that, okay, perfect. All right, so running the CA is pretty straightforward, right? What we'll do is we'll give it a host name, we'll call it CA, nothing overly complicated, and then we'll generate a an RSA key. We're gonna call it lab key PKI. We could call it anything. So generate RSA label. I'm gonna call it lab PKI, and I'm gonna do 2048. Okay, it's gonna generate this key for me, and then we'll have to enable the HTTP service, and that's for DTLS. Okay, not DTLS, but requesting a certificate using HTTPS. Okay. All right. Let me make sure that I have secure. Yep. So we have a secure server. In many, it would be a security vulnerability if you're running just HTTP. So you wanna make it secure. Use 443 instead of port 80, right? And then we'll configure our certificate authority. This is also pretty straightforward, right? And all this can be found within Cisco documentation. Cisco is pretty good. Their documentation is pretty good at demonstrating how to set up one of your CAT 8000 or a CSR 1000V or even an iOS device. And last week, in the last video, I did explain that you do not want to use a iOS device because of the fact that let me see something. Let me see the fact that some of the methods are a little older. Okay, I mean encryption and hashing method, especially the Diffie-Hellman groups to exchange your RSA keys are very old, and you're gonna have to kind of enable those methods within the vEdges and vBonds. So that's why I'm going with a CAT 8000. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's see what we've done so far. I'm creating my lab. I mean my certificate authority. We'll do we'll say boot flash. Server IO is changed. You need to move the existing database to the new location. Okay, perfect. We're gonna say complete. Then we're gonna say issuer name. I'll say it's my home lab. We'll say home lab, right? We'll keep it, or home server, right? Let's do home lab. That lab. It's okay. That's the common name of the issuer. That will be me, right? We'll do SHA-256. All right, and then we'll generate a PKCS 12. We'll make the password not complicated. We'll do Cisco 123. Doesn't matter. That works for me. And then we'll say grant the certificate automatically. No shot. Okay, perfect. And I'll show you guys where there will be some issue, right? When I try to export the actual PAM cert, this, to the boot flash, it will, it'll give me this error. Very strange error, right? At first, it's got nothing to do with NTP, right? Block. But the issue is you wanna set up. You wanna point to an NTP server, and this is what I'll do. I will point to an outside NTP. This is within my LAN. Again, like I said, via DHCP, I was able to provide an IP addresses. I'm bridging this lab to my LAN. So in this case, the IP is changed. It's no longer 6.135. It's 6.144, right? So might as well update that, right? And then I will point to an NTP server, right? I will point to 192.168.5.192. That's my domain controller. It's a Microsoft Windows server. And then we'll tell it which interface to, I think there's a way to prefer one interface. Source interface, we'll say 2, right? And then we'll say prefer, okay? And then we can also point it to a secondary NTP server, and this is where my DNS server comes into play. This is the DNS server, right? It's gonna be DNS server 192.168. I would say it's 1.15. Okay. All right. Actually, let's tell it how to get there, right? We're gonna source gig 0. Gig 1. Okay. It's because we're going out this direction, right? 2 is going towards this bridge, this unmanaged switch, that bridge over to my internal network, my LAN. This is how you're able to get an IP address via DHCP. But towards the core switch, CSW here, this switch right here, we have to set up the internal network back to the DNS server. So right now, I need to set up an interface, right? Interface G1, right? Description. I like to put description. It keeps me honest, and I'm able to refer directly to within my lab. So it's always, I know exactly where my interface is going towards, right? So in this case, we'll do a 1.14. We'll maintain the integrity of, we have already selected IPs for each of this network, right? So no shot, right? Okay, perfect. So we have an IP address that is internal to the SD-WAN lab, so it goes towards the core switch, and then you have a DHCP learn IP address from my LAN bridge over through this home lab, that lab external connector. Okay, we'll go over here to the CSW, because I do believe that I may have to, I want to be able to reach back to that DNS server. This is okay. Okay, let me see something. Show VLAN brief. Okay, I've got no VLANs. Perfect. So we'll create a VLAN 100. It doesn't matter. We'll call it SD-WAN, right? I don't really care. In this case, okay, we're gonna do a range to make this a little shorter, right? We're gonna range up to, we're gonna do from 0 to 3, right? And then we'll add G10. Okay, all right, and then we can put a description. It doesn't matter, right? I can be more specific. I'll change the description later on. So we can make it an access port, access VLAN, right? 100. We're gonna spend port fast. If you're not familiar with port fast, I can create a video later on that no shot. There we go. So if you do show MAC address VLAN 100, you should observe some coming through right now, right? We'll go back to the DNS, right? Because we need to enable DNS, right? I'll show you guys how to do that. Host name, we'll call it DNS, right? And then we'll configure first 01 connect to G03.CSW. That's towards the switch, right? And then the IP address will be 192.168.1.15. It's a /24, so make it pretty straightforward, right? And then I'm sure that I got show IP interface brief, exclude unassigned. Just make sure that I do have a no, I do not. So I may have to enable, right, DHCP on this interface to, I would say, external LAN. Okay, P address DHCP. We're gonna do a no shot, right? Hopefully that is quick, right? So there is a way to IP name server, right? I think that okay, there is a way to, okay, there we got an IP. Let me make sure this is ping 192.168.5.192. See if I can reach that. I should be. The first one is a ARP resolution, right? And then the rest is a. Alright, I see. So 4 out of 5 is perfectly normal. Let me see if I can ping my CA, because I would like to. There, I can ping it. Perfect. We'll go back to the configuring the DNS server. For now, I need to make sure that my clock has been updated. Show NTP association. Sometimes it takes a while. Show NTP status. It might be unsynchronized. Yes, still unsynchronized. Hold on. So we'll go back to DNS. We'll say NTP master, right? That tells it, hey, you're the master. And then on the CA, what we'll do is we'll go back and try to configure the clock, I guess manually. Hold on, let me see. First, let's change the zone. So we're gonna do a time. I think it's clock time zone, maybe. EST. We're gonna do Eastern time. Okay, and then we're gonna do a clock time zone. We're gonna do clock summertime. Perfect. And then we're gonna do EST recurring. All right, perfect. I want to set the clock. Let's see. We're gonna do clock set. We're gonna set. It's gonna be at this time. It's 07. I want to do 1900, right? 01. We'll do 00. We'll say this is in February 28, 2024. Okay, show clock. Okay, show NTP status. See if it hasn't synchronized. It takes some times before it's able to synchronize. Yeah, already it's got my. This is reachable. Could be that this is a like a virtual appliance, and it might take longer than normal. But anyways, initially we had ran a command to install or generate a PEM key and install it on boot flash, right? Export it to the boot flash. Okay. I think this would work now. Okay. Okay, perfect. Yes, that's what we wanted. Okay, we wrote it. So that's the certificate. That's the root CA, right? So if I do dir, right, we'll look for lab, right? This is the actual key right here. Okay. All right. So whenever the vManage would be able to reach back and pull this key. Okay. And I'll show you guys how to do this later on. All right. Another thing you could and of course we're not done yet. So you could do it two ways. You can do a more, right? So boot flash and then lab PKI CA, right? So you'll notice that I'll generally look at this last letters and the first letter and see if it matches, right? And then you can also do it this way. You can generate it onto the terminal, right? You can say, hey, export the lab key, right? PKI PEM onto terminal. So we did it within the pre-crypto PKI export. I think it's under configuration. Let me see. PKI export lab PKI PEM terminal, because you could do it on the boot flash and you can also do it, but you'll see that, see, if you look at this, it's the same, it's literally the same root certificate. See that? It's the same CA, the root CA matches, right? You can do it two ways. Okay, it doesn't matter how you do it, right? So, and then we want the default route, right? Because eventually you want to be able to reach the rest of the network. We're gonna put a description here, no, a name, I think, yeah, a name, and we're going to get default, right? Okay. At this point you should have few routes, okay, some connected, some local routes, and then the static route out. Okay. Let's go back to the vManage. Okay, let's see if we can get in there now. Uppercase A, admin 123, right? And normally we should be able to get in there. No, admin. Let me try Cisco 123. I don't know if this maybe got resetted. That's interesting. Admin. 123. That's interesting. Hold on. see. Think about this. Let me see what the default password is. What is the default credentials for vManage? So let me see. I think I was admin. Okay, I was wrong. That's probably for the F5, right? So admin. Let's try that maybe. Yep. Yep. Perfect. So we're in, and it's asking me to set up a new password. I will do this password right here, password Cisco 123. I use this across my lab to simplify things. Not the most secure password, but you know, and those are important. This will be for standalone, right? So if you had two vManage, you can have one do data and compute. Oops, sorry. But in this case, we're doing compute and data, so we'll select one. Okay, they'll tell you to select a persona. You choose the persona, compute and data. Will say yes, right? It's a standalone. Okay, and then we have only one storage device, so we'll select that one. Okay, it's 100 gig, and then yes, you want to format it. Yes, you need to format it, right? So this takes a while. While this is happening, we can go over to our vSmart. We can start configuring. Actually, let's do the vBond. Okay, let's do the vBond. We'll start configuring the vBond. Okay. All right. Okay, admin. Okay, it's the same credentials. So Cisco 123. All right, perfect. All right, in this case, let's talk about the vBond. The vBond is, it's an orchestrator, right? Basically, it validates all the vEdges, right? The vEdges before being onboarded onto the vManage, and this includes vSmart and vManage itself, right? Before they have to be able to communicate with the vBond, and there's gotta have trust, right? If there's no trust, then that device, I guess, won't get onboarded, right? So you have to work the certificate, okay, the PKI. So we'll configure the vSmart. We'll start with its system configuration. System configuration basically gives it some unique, the host name, it gives it this unique system IP, the site ID, organization name, right? All these items will be used to generate certificate, right? And then the vBond itself, local, its time zone, and all that, right? So we'll start with the host name, right? Because this is a vEdge. The vBond generally is a vEdge, right? So we'll just call it vBond, right? And then we're gonna give it a system IP of 1112. vManage will be 1111. I'm gonna try to keep that, sequence some number, and then we'll go from there. Site ID is critical. You cannot have one site ID everywhere. One site ID. Your remote site cannot be part of the same site ID. Each different site has to have a different site ID, or you'll run into some issues, right? Organization. Home lab. What about we do that? Keep it vBond, right? We'll do. We'll follow the same IP scheme, but we'll say, hey, it's local, because vBond is local. It is the vBond, right? Clock time zone, we're gonna say America, right? New York. Straightforward. Eastern time. NTP server. I want to get my NTP information through my domain controller, and will be out of band, right? I have to point it to, let me see. Yeah, basically what we want to do. And then let's see the configuration. And this is what I like about the viptela devices. You can get a snippet of your configuration, and then once you RP, you can commit. Okay, perfect. And then I can do a show running configuration, VPN, not VPN, but system, right? Because we want to look at the system. We'll go back here. Host name is vBond. Our system IP is 111.2. site ID is 100, perfect. And then if you go further down, you have your NTP configuration here. Okay, show clock. Let's see what we have, right? Yeah, perfect. Okay, let's see if the CA's got this NTP association yet, because I think I was NTP status. Okay, still unsynchronized. I may have to figure out why that is. We'll troubleshoot that later. That will be interesting. Let me see. Show run interface G2. Yeah. Okay. Ping 192.168.1.15. Okay. Okay. Anyways, let's go back to the vBond. So now we'll configure VPN 0. Configure VPN 0 will give them the ability to communicate with the controllers for control plane, traffic. That would be with DTLS, and then you have IPsec to communicate with the remote sites. Okay. All right. Let's do that right now. VPN 0. We'll pick interface 00. So if you look at this diagram, let me zoom in a little bit. That's the vBond. You see, oops. Hold on. Let me see. Why can't I? Let me move this over here. Okay. We'll just do this. Okay. So you have the vBond. Interface 00 is how it communicates with the rest of the SD-WAN fabric. So we'll pick up, and you have to be very careful. You have to select what it is. You can't do G00 because that means something completely different. Okay. All right. So be careful when you configure your you go into interface configuration mode. Select the proper interface. Right. Obviously, it's gonna inherit. I like the fact that you can just give it a WoW mask, right, instead of writing the whole subnet. But we're gonna say no shut. We're gonna configure the tunnel interface. This is how it sets up its tunnels, right? And then I like to select the color because it's gonna be iNet. It will be internet. So we'll say biz internet. So we'll say color. Sorry, biz internet, right? We'll select that color. And if you are curious about the colors, there's a significance to the colors, right? Some of them are, will determine like how the type of NAT you're using, and we'll go over that later on. But or the type of transport you're using. Okay. So we'll select biz internet, and then obviously you need to select your encapsulation, and the encapsulation will be IPsec. This will be for to reach out to the remote sites, right? All right. And then you want to allow all services for now, and then for security reason we can later on turn them off. The ones that we don't really need, right? So this is what I have. It's not showing me the interface configuration because we're under tunnel interface configuration, but I can exit from here, right? And then we need to enter the quad 0, right? And this is going towards our gateway, okay? And then we can commit. All right, so let's see VPN 0. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, show run VPN 0, okay? So we have the interface IP config. We select the right interface, which is GE00. We have the proper IP address, right? Under tunnel interface, we got encapsulation. We have the color. For VPN 0, it will be biz internet. And then if we stand up another, we select another interface. Let's say for this connection, right? We can add an extra link back to the CSW, but I want to see how this works later on, how it's able to, figure out that it's got other ways to get around, right? That might be something we may have to do here, but we'll see. We'll take a look at that. But anyways, so we allow all services, but I noticed some services are not working, that haven't been turned on, like this service. It will need SSH. netconf definitely, and then that's why we enable the this is how the orchestrator can push, some configuration over, or learn some configuration over, from maybe another controllers. We need to allow NTP. Okay, let's do that right now. Conf T, we're gonna go into VPN 0, interface GE00, and then we're gonna go under interface, and then we'll start selecting the ones that are not allowed. We need that, right? Only thing I don't like about Cisco Modeling Lab is the fact that you cannot just highlight and paste. You have to copy and paste. So generally I would do this over a notepad, or allow NTP. NTP is critical. So we don't care about OSPF. I'm not doing OSPF. Allow service done. Yeah, let's do that for now, and then we'll talk about all. And then we have HTTPS enable, and then we'll commit. Okay. Show configuration. Let's do show running configuration VPN 0. Let's see if the only service that is not enabled is OSPF. Perfect. Yeah. So that works for me. I'm happy with that. And then finally, we want to configure VPN 512. That's our add-on bench, remember? And one thing you want to select your proper interface. In this case, it will be if 0, right? 0, perfect. And then you want to do IP DHCP client. See, it's a little different from iOS, right? iOS or iOS XE, we do IPDH address, IP DHCP address. In this case, it's DHCP-client, right? And then we're going to do a no shutdown, right? And then we're going to do show configuration. Really? Okay, let's do a commit. Okay. See, show running configuration VPN 512. Maybe it was already configured that way. Okay. Show interface, and then I think you can do table tab. Yep, there we go. This is quite nice because I've got, this is the configuration that I've done for VPN 0, right? It's 1.11. Then if you scroll down, you have the system IP address. It doesn't have to be routable, it's just got to be unique to the device. And then you can see here that I've gotten an IP, right? It's no longer 6.136, it's 6.147, right? Okay, and then you notice I have some connection here to null, some loopbacks. Okay, I don't know what this is. We'll take a look at it later on. But it looks like it's internal. I'm looking at this VPN. Maybe it's, yeah, exactly like a null route. So this is 512, this is 0. So let me see if I can ping the CA. PA is 192.168.1.14 through VPN 0. Yeah, I can. That's perfect. Okay, so all right, we can start pulling the certificates, right? But in order to make this, right, we have to enable SEP, right? So one thing I need to speak about, there's multiple ways to do this, right? And one of the way that I found secure is SEP. Okay, you do not want to use TFTP. In the lab we could as well use TFTP, but I want to show you how to use SEP. And besides, TFTP might be disabled. I have not checked that out, but all right, let's generate some RSA keys. 2048. Okay, and then we have to enable we have to create a username, right? Cisco, we're gonna do a pre-15 Cisco, right? 1, 2, 3. Make it consistent. Secret. What about that? For we can enable service encryption. I think it's service encryption. Right. Hold on. Let me see. Service password encryption. I don't remember all these, but I think that's what it is. Then it's always good to have a enable, right? We'll say secret Cisco 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay. Okay, big one is generally if you look at your line, your management plane, you see might be login. I want to do login local, right? Login local, right? Now you see login local is enabled. Okay, let me see, show IP interface brief, include unassigned. We can quickly SSH into ourselves and make sure that it's working. No user spell available for SSH client. Oh, you can say SSH tag L. Let's do Cisco 192.168.1.14. There we go. 123. We're working. Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the vBond. That's pretty straightforward. What we're gonna do is we're gonna request download, right? We're gonna say SCP, right? We're gonna pull. It's gonna be Cisco at. I mean, you know what? Let's make this consistent. I'm gonna do a no username Cisco, right? We're gonna do, yes, we're gonna do username admin. Let's make this consistent according to what I have in my. So if you look here, we have a username admin Cisco 123. That will be for every node in the lab, and I don't want to change that, right? It keeps things consistent, right? Okay, so we'll go back to the vBond, okay, and then we say admin, right, at 192.168.1.14. That's who I am, and then we're gonna say lab pki.ca. So we are pulling the certificate authority, not the certificate authority, the root CA, right? So Cisco 123. Oh, interesting. Permanently added, administrator disable. Yeah, well, that could be that. Show run section SCP. Yeah, IP SCP server enable. Okay, let's try now. Well, if you missed that, that might not work, right? You wanna turn your system. There we go. Right, downloaded it. Right. I've done this for a while, and I can recognize when SCP is turned off. You generally get some weird messages, and you realize that you've configured the crypto properly. At least generated your key. You have configure your management plane properly in order to receive and send connections and so forth. And then you try to SCP configuration, I mean a file from to a device, and you realize that, hey, something is wrong. You get a refuse, or you get a drop, or like administrative disable, and well, it's an SCP issue, right? You have to enable IP SCP. You have to allow the server or the switch or the routers, whoever you're using as a server, you have to enable SCP on it. Okay. All right. So and then you wanna do a request, right? Root certificate chain install within this file. Not this sorry, not file, but this directory. Okay. You have to store in this directory, right? I can show you how to get there. You go into the vShell, right? Let me see, ls. Yeah, you're already in there. So if you do pwd, I'm already in the home admin, right? This is where my certificate exists. All right. Pretty straightforward. You get out of the vShell with an exit. Okay. So perfect. So we'll do the vSmart same way. Actually, let's go back to the vManage and log on. Okay. Let's do this, the vManage. I think the vManage configuration is important, so let's knock it out. We'll do host name. I think the reason why we didn't do it right away is because we were waiting for the drive to get formatted, right? Perfect. We'll go into system. We'll change the host name. We'll make it vManage. Well, that's not very original, but that's what I'll call it. System IP, we did discuss that. We want to do 111. Remember, unique. We'll start at 1 because we gave the vBond that 2. The site ID will do a 100, same site ID, right? This is the site ID, so it's the whole this cloud environment, right? Organization name, I think it was home lab. I think that's what I did for the other one. We're gonna point it to the vBond. The vBond is 192.168.111, right? We're gonna set up the clock time zone. We're gonna say America and then New York, right? That's Eastern time for me at least. And then we'll set up the NTP server. That's important because they have to all be synchronized to match at least the CA clock or time zone. If it's not, then you have an issue. Okay, show configuration, and then we'll commit. Okay, I like to always go back and verify because you could miss something as easy as, you know, no, show run system, sorry. Okay, so under system we have the host name, site ID, system IP, unique. Okay, and your NTP configuration has been completed, which is perfect. Okay, we're gonna continue on and do VPN 0 again. The vManage is echo 1, right? E1, right? So we'll configure E1, E1. Okay, and then we'll do an IP address 192.168.1.10/24, right? We're gonna do tunnel interface, color, base, internet. Well, I don't really I don't think I need a color. Actually, let's do color. I think I do, yes, base internet. And then we're gonna say allow service all, right? Same thing. And then we're gonna say no shut. Okay, we're gonna do IP route. We're gonna send it all to that one. I think it's 1.1, right? And then we're gonna commit. Okay, now this is where it's a little weird. Some services might not be enabled like, you know, previously, but everything else looks okay. One thing that we need to do is remove internet if 0 from VPN 0, and I'll tell you why. No interface if 0, right? Because it's going to be used somewhere else. It's going to be used in VPN 512 or out-of-band management. If you look at this left side, this link, E0 is out-of-band management, right? If you don't do that, you're going to have a weird, you're going to have an error saying, hey, this interface exists within VPN 0, pretty much. All right, nothing, you know, important, right? And also, well, it's important, not nothing important, but nothing to worry about. It's an easy fix, right? If one, right? And then under tunnel interface, we need to enable at least this service because we're gonna need that to pull the certificate from using SEP, right? And then we need netconf because that's how we controller. That's the SDWAN protocol that's the orchestration. This is what we're using to push configuration over to the device SDWAN from the controller, right? Okay, we're gonna enable NTP. We need that. NTP has to be synchronized across the and then if you, for security reason, you may turn off SSH later on. I mean, it's up to, depends on your, you know, on our security posture. And then what we'll do, we'll commit that. Okay, perfect. All right, so at this point we're ready to configure VPN 512, right? In here we're gonna say no interface if 1, right? And then interface if 0. It may already be configured. We're gonna say no shut. Okay. IP DHCP client and then commit. All right. Let's make sure that I have. Okay, so I have a configuration. I have it's up and up. If 1 would be my VPN 0. I have my system ID up and up. I've got my DHCP least IP address. So this is changed, right? It's no longer 134. It's 143, right? Okay, and then what else? Okay, that's it. We're gonna do some ping to make sure that the CA is reachable. CA is at 14, right? Through VPN 0. and then I'm gonna make sure that my domain controller is reachable. That will be my NTP, my time source, right? VPN 512, it should be reachable too. Okay, perfect. All right. So far now we're gonna pull the certificates, right? Via SEP. Same. It's basically the concept is similar to what we've done with the vBond. It's practically there's no difference between. It gets different when you start doing the vEdges, the remote site, right? And that's about the only. And then what we'll do, and generally some organization, sometimes some already have a root certificate. Was basically root certificate chain is actually the root certificate. It can be like root certificate, and you can have maybe subordinate certificate. I don't know. However, you guys, so it could be a certificate chain. We'll just install it on the home admin, and then okay. So it's in there. We can verify that. vShell, pwd. Make sure I'm in. Perfect. Yeah. So if I do that, there it is. This is the root CA. Okay. And at this point, we may want to verify that all the network services started, right? Or I won't be able to access the GUI and the web GUI interface, the UI. I did talk about in the last video about this, right? If you don't have enough resources within your lab, you may run into some weird behaviors where some of the process don't start, right? And in this, so I'm restarting everything right now. I generally do that, but you don't have to do. You can do all status, right? This is just to make sure that I refresh all my services, because I've seen it work. You don't have to do it this way, right? And I can also later show you guys how to start oops, why is this, how to troubleshoot some of the issue, right? But if you do this all right, then you shouldn't have too many issues with starting your lab, right? So let me zoom back out so that we have visibility over the whole lab. Okay. All right. This takes a second. It cycles through all the services. Okay. So now we can do a show NMS all status. Show NMS. Sorry. I apologize. It's a request. I don't know why I keep doing all status, right? Okay, true and running, that's my application server. True and running, database, true and running, that's my true and running, perfect. Okay, this is the only one I observed not to start. I don't think that would cause some issues, right? You don't really need this one running. Okay, so the IP has changed. It's 6.143. Let's get there. 6.143. Okay. Oops. 192.168.6.143. Okay, there we go. Then generally, okay, vManage server is not ready or temporarily unavailable. So let me try. Okay, so that part might take a second. I've seen it take a while. So we'll have to wait until all processes have started. Let me see. Let me move this up here. So service proxy true, proxy array true, application server true. Just making sure I don't have any. So let me I'm gonna do request NMS SDAVC restart, or let's stop it and see if we can stop and restart. Okay, and then restart or start. Let's see. The server is disabled. That might be maybe licensing, maybe. I don't know. I'm very curious to what the service is. I'll do some research in the next video. let you guys know, but for the sake of the video I want to make it shorter. 2168. I think it's 143, I believe. Okay, so we'll have to wait. I mean, there's no way around that until service is completely stopped. But while this is happening, we can go to the vSmart and configure the vSmart. Okay. All right. Admin, I believe, and then I don't think I've entered this correctly. Admin. There we go. And then we have to reset the password. There's practically no difference between we'll do Cisco. Hold on. Cisco 123. Cisco 123. Okay. All right. We'll configure the system. So it's gonna be host name. We'll call it vSmart. We're not very creative. We'll do system IP. It's gonna be 3. Site ID, same site ID. They live in the same space. Organization name, we will say home, lab, clock, time zone. We'll say America, New York, right? Just like the Eastern time. And then we got to point to the vBond. Oops. vBond is 192.168.1.11, and then commit, right? Show run system, right? So all right, those are good. And then, well, I need NTP, obviously. I didn't do that. I, for whatever reason, completely forgot it. Server 192.168.592, and then we're gonna say prefer VPN 512, right? All right, commit. All right, I think we should be good. We're gonna configure VPN 0, and this is the same. It's gonna be like VPN 1 is. Let me move this. So Ethernet 1, right? E1 is being used for my out-of-band management, and in this case we have to remove it from VPN 0, right? Alright, and then we have to configure Ethernet 0, right? Alright, perfect. IP address 192.168.1.13.24, and that's what it is, right? Okay, and then we're gonna do tunnel interface color. We're gonna say base internet. Yep. Then we're gonna do allow service all, right? And then commit, right? And then we have to put a route. Also, one thing to mention is you can configure DNS also from here, but so I can do DNS 192.168.1.15, right? I think you can have multiple DNS, so we can do 5.192, and then you can do 191. That's local, right? I believe. Why didn't he take it? Oh, no argument. Let me see. A primary, and then let me see if I. Yeah, there we go. You gotta say secondary. Interesting. Okay. Oh, why? DNS primary 192.168.5.192 primary. Okay, and then DNS 192.168.1.15 secondary. Okay, well, that works. Okay, that works for me. And then we can commit that, right? VPN 0. Let's see what we have. Oh, we need to do services too, but you can see the DNS configuration right here, and the interface configuration. We still have to allow those services, right? I've completely forget about that. If 0, I believe. Yep. And then on the tunnel interface, we're gonna do allow, right? NTP. We're gonna say SSD. We're gonna say netconf, right? That's what we need. Netconf. All right, let's just do this, and then yeah, I think that's fine. And then we're gonna commit. Okay. Then finally, we gotta configure 512, right? We're gonna do if we do show run, well, let's see something. Show run 512, okay, no configuration, that works. Then we can do interface, right? So in this case, for vSmart is 1, right? Interface if 1. And then we're gonna do IP DHCP client, right? No shot, right? And then we're gonna commit. We should, by this time, we should have an IP. So, but let's see. I have not gotten one yet. There it is. It's 6149. So we can change this value here to 6149. Okay, and increase that a little bit for visibility sake. Okay, perfect. All right. Now, let's see if I can ping my vBond. Right, that's critical. I think vBond is 1.11, I believe. vBond. Yeah, it's, oh, that's interesting. Why is it no? VPN 0. Let's see. Is it shut down? Let's try that. VPN 0 interface F0, I believe. No shot, maybe. Let's see if I can go back to that. It's saying it's up and up, but the transport. Let me see if I can ping it now. No. Alright, so the vSmart connect to 02. Let's go to see. I see that 02 is configured properly. MAC address in 02. I've got one. Let me see, what did I... Oh, the IP is wrong. Second octet should be 168. I mean, this would... You gotta be... Hold on, interface... if 0. Yeah. And then we're gonna do IP address 192.168.1.13/24. Okay, commit. That should work now. Yep. And then I'm gonna ping 512. We're gonna do 192. Okay. So we're in good shape. Alright, so we got vSmart, vBond, and vManage. So there is a way to configure a Cisco router as a DNS server. Look at the configuration later. Let's try to refresh this, and hopefully that's working. Perfect. Okay, it just took a while, really. But anyways, let's get the request the certificate, right? One thing you'll notice, and I don't know if I brought this up, right, is that the vBond and vEdges will have a colon, right, and the file, the root CA, right, you're downloading. But the vSmart and the vManage will have a, just like as in Linux, a /, right, okay. And then we have to download this, right, this root certificate, right, into there we go, into the home folder. Okay. All right. Perfect. Let me verify that it's in there. PWD. Okay. Perfect. Yep, it is. All right. Perfect. Okay. So now that let's start this, right? Because we want to start the rest of the network. Because we want to be able to route through perimeter 1, correct? So we'll start that. But this is for next video. Right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start onboarding the vBond and the vSmart over to the vManage, right? So let's do this. Okay. Cisco 123. It's the same password you've set, right? Username and password, you know, it is the same as your CLI password. So. Okay, so this is where it gets a little interesting, right? How you sign, you know, your your certificate, right? Let's close this. All right, we'll say remind me later, because I mean this is a trial, right? So we'll go over here under administration and under settings, I believe, if I remember quite well. And then I did mention last video that you have to configure these items right here. Okay, so home lab, you have to reconfigure the vBond. It's that, and you got to save that, and then let me close that. So you got a vBond, and then you have to the controller certificate authorization. Right now it's Cisco, but we want to do an enterprise root certificate. That's what we have, right? I'm going to say proceed, right? And this is where we go to the certificate authority, and then basically more, right? Boot flash, and then whatever my certificate, my root CA is, right? There it is. We're gonna copy everything in here. Let me move this up so you guys can see it. So we'll copying from begin to end, right? And then you get over here, you drop this in here. You do have to generate a CSR, obviously. Home.lab.lab. Some of these values I've already put before I did provision this lab, right? Okay, this is the US code, and then we're gonna do for 3 years, right? And then we'll just do this home lab.lab, and then we're gonna import and save. So you have your root CA, and then you have, all right, that's perfect. This takes a while, and it'll tell you, hey, it's been certificate authorization is successful. Then now you go under configuration, and under certificates, this is where, and generally under this is where you work, or you get a signed certificate and upload it, right? You work your trust on this configuration certificates. Now you have your WAN edge list, which we're gonna go to controller, right? We currently have only one controller, is the vManage, okay? And then what you can do is view CSR. Oh, you have to generate one, I guess. Generate a CSR. Okay. We've given the attributes, now we're generating a certificate, CSR, certificate signing request. Then you go back to your CA, right? And this is where you tell it to, sign, request a PK CS10, I believe, under terminal. So we'll do it on the terminal. So you paste your CSR in here, and then enter, and then it'll grant you a signed certificate. You see that? Then you'll copy the signed certificate, and you'll go back to, you'll close this, and then you'll select. You have to select. Generally, it's kind of weird because it doesn't tell me when I select something, because you have multiple controllers on here, but I do the drop down, then I know I selected something. So, and then I will install this certificate, right? Make sure I have a begin and end, install. This might take a second. If your certificate is good, it'll tell you here, right? So you can refresh. Nice thing is it tells you exactly, it shows you the whole process, right? Let's refresh, and then you'll have a success if you did it right. If not, then there's something, that you didn't do correctly. So there we go, we have a success, which is good, right? Now we can do our vBond. So let's go back to configuration certificate. Since we already got, we can go to the controller, and then we can no, it's not on here, is it? No, it's over devices, sorry. You go to devices, and then controllers, and then you can add a controller in here, right? We're gonna add a vBond. Okay, the vBond will be 1.11. Username basically is what username you've assigned to the, and then initially you can unclick that and do it manually, but you can, it's always good to make it this automatically, right? I want to add, because on here on the certificate page you can actually generate a CSR, but it'll do this for you, right? So you don't have to, right? So we have added the vBond. Now you want to go under configuration, certificates, back to certificates, and under your controller you should see the vBond. Okay, it's not yet installed, right? But it does tell you that it's generated CSR. So all you do is view CSR because you already generated it. Okay, and then you go back to your CA. You do the same thing we did earlier, which was crypto PKI, right? Server lab PKI, and then you'll tell it to request the PKCS. That's a PEM, you know, and then you'll paste that. Okay, and then enter and get a certificate granted, a signed certificate. Okay. All right, I'll go back in here. I'm gonna close this. Like I said, you see when I select it, I don't know, right? I want to make sure I select the right thing, right? It doesn't change color, it doesn't tell me it's been selected. And then install the certificate, and it'll tell you, it'll show you one way to find out where you're installing it. Say vBond, device type vBond, schedule yes, right? Refresh. If we did this right, you should install the certificate successfully. Okay, success, perfect. Now we'll do one more. We'll do the vSmart, and then we'll end the video. And next time we'll show you. I'll show you how to onboard a vEdge. So we will do the vSmart. It's the last one of them. It's the 1.13. Credential is the same. Protocol DTLS. This is the control plane method for OMP. Okay, we've added the vSmart. Now we need to install it, and this is, again, like I said, with Cisco SD-WAN, you have to establish trust. So if you don't have trust, then your device won't install properly or connect whatsoever. I'm gonna see the CSR here, right? Copy the CSR, go back to my we're gonna generate a PEM cert again, signing cert. We're gonna sign it. We're gonna request a PKCS 10 on the terminal, and then I'll drop this right here and grant a signed certificate. Okay. Again, the certificate authority doesn't have to be. Rather, this is for convenience sake because I'm in a lab environment, right? But I could demonstrate how to use a domain controller to do this, right? Because everything can be installed manually on here. So, all right. So we'll wait for the vSmart to properly install or onboard to the vManage. This process might take a second. There we go, success. Now you can go back to your devices, and under your controller you should have all three: your vManage, your vSmart, and your vBond. Under certificate status you'll see installed. Okay. Alright, and the site ID, critical, system IP, unique to the device, and the host name, right? If you go over to certificates and under controller, you can send to the vBond now, all three. Okay. Let's refresh this page. Okay, perfect. Alright, so in the front page, if you go back to the dashboard, remind me later. Yeah, the password is not secure enough, sure. you can see on the controllers that you have one of each. Okay, now let's go on the vManage. This is also important. Show controller control connection, right? So you have a connection to the vSmart. Okay, obviously this is it right here. You have 8 connection to the vBond, and this is because I'm using 8 CPU for my vManage. So you have 8 different connections. They're all DTLS connections, but at least this one is valid. The other one, if you see it, it's quad 0 local, right? Right, but this one is definitely right. Okay, but the 8 repetitive vBond DTLS connections are all, and only one is up, but they're due to how many CPUs I'm running, right? Now if you go onto the vBond, right, you do a show orchestrator connection, and then it'll show you the connections that exist between the vBond and the vSmart, right? You have 4 connection. This is because I'm using, I believe, 4 CPUs, right? And then you have they're all DTLS controlling, so it's all OMP, right? And you have 8 to the vManage. Oops, sorry. Okay, and then if you go to vSmart, it's the same thing. Show control connections. You have 4 with the vBond, okay, and then you have 1 with the vManage, okay. Show OMP. Right now we don't have any OMP route, but OMP peer, neither, because we don't have any C edge or V edges, or no remote sites, so we have not established control plane connection with V edges. When we do it, when we onboard the V edges, then we'll be able to populate this. It's show IP route. See, you have a connected route, you have another connected route because they share a broadcast domain. You have your quad 0. This is to the rest. This is a DHCP learn route. This is for management. Not really necessary, I believe, but I guess I downloaded through DHCP. And then you have your connected route via the out of band management, which is VPN 512. Okay, so in this lab we pretty much, I pretty much showed you how to onboard at least the vBond and vSmart to the vManage, set up the vManage, generate certificates, CSR, certificate signing requests, and getting them signed to the CA. We gotta think of the importance of NTP within this whole construct, because without proper NTP you may have synchronization issues, which may cause your device from not installing properly or onboarding properly to the vManage. Proper resources, we've discussed last video about resources requirement, and it's a big deal to have proper resources to the vManage, vBond, and vSmart, or you experience some weird behaviors. Okay, I guess that's it for this video, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.